Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder if educational psychology is heading towards a bright future or a dark one? Today we're diving into a fascinating study that asked exactly that. Imagine trying to predict what something like educational psychology will be like, not just next year, but in a whole century. It sounds like science fiction, right? But these researchers wanted to figure out if we can actually make educated guesses about the future of helping people learn, and what we should do to steer it in the right direction. This paper, The Future of Educational Psychology Between Vision and Dystopia, tackles this huge question head-on. They started by looking at what experts have already written about the future. Think of it like gathering all the fortune cookies that have ever been opened and seeing what patterns emerge. They call this a scoping review. They searched through lots of articles published in the last 10 years, looking for any mention of where educational psychology is going. After sifting through thousands of articles and carefully picking the ones that talked about the future, they ended up with a good number of sources to analyze. From these articles, they started to see some big ideas about where things might be heading. They found that people talked about educational psychology in terms of its research, like how we study learning and its practices, like how we actually teach and assess students. These ideas were grouped into categories. For example, they looked at how technology might change things, like using artificial intelligence, or how we deal with the fact that every student is different, which they called personalization and heterogeneity. They also considered how things like democracy and societal challenges might affect education and what the role of educational psychology should be in helping individuals thrive. But just reading what is already out there wasn't enough. The researchers wanted to ask the experts directly, so they designed an online survey. They reached out to some of the top minds in educational psychology, asking them about their expectations, their hopes, and their biggest worries for the next 100 years. They also asked for concrete ideas on how to achieve the best-case future and how to avoid the worst-case one. To add an interesting twist, they even had ChatGPT, that AI chatbot, fill out the same survey. The experts' answers were a mixed bag, painting a picture of possibilities that range from wonderfully utopian to deeply concerning dystopian. On the hopeful side, experts imagined a future where educational psychology is super advanced, using technology and data to give every student a personalized learning experience. They saw a field that is deeply evidence-based, with strong connections to society and politics, and that uses cutting-edge tech to help with not just learning but also mental health and social-emotional growth. It's a vision of high quality, accessible education for everyone, everywhere. But then there were the nightmares, the dystopian visions. Experts worried that educational psychology and good education itself could become pushed aside. They feared it could be controlled by political agendas that don't value knowledge, or that it might become inaccessible to many. A big concern was that fields we know might be replaced by automated systems that lack a human touch or a real understanding of learning. To get a more concrete idea of what experts thought was likely, they asked them to rate 84 different statements about the future. When they looked at what the experts thought was most likely to happen, some things stood out. The top prediction, rated as almost certain, was that teaching people to tell true information from false information will become super important in schools. This makes a lot of sense in today's world, doesn't it? After that, experts saw a strong likelihood of many AI-related developments. Things like AI transforming learning environments and AI-powered tutoring systems becoming common. They also predicted that personalized learning, especially with AI support, will become widely available. Data protection and data literacy also ranked high, showing a clear concern for privacy in the digital age. Researchers also saw a future where education research becomes much more interdisciplinary, meaning different fields will work together much more. And on the assessment side, experts believed formative assessments, which are designed to help students learn along the way rather than just testing them at the end, will become much more important. What about the least likely things to happen? Surprisingly, many of the statements about democracy and how it might affect educational psychology were rated as less likely to occur, or at least not a major threat. This might mean experts feel educational psychology is somewhat insulated from direct political pressures. Or perhaps they are just more focused on the technological and pedagogical shifts. The study also compared the experts' ratings with ChatGPT's ratings. The cool part is that ChatGPT's predictions were pretty closely aligned with what the human experts thought, especially in terms of the ranking of the predictions. This suggests that AI is becoming quite good at analyzing trends and making informed predictions, though the researchers do note that ChatGPT's reliability can vary. Now, let's get to the really important part. What does all this mean for us? The researchers noted that predicting the future 100 years out is tough. It is a bit like trying to guess what fashion will be like in 2124, but they believe that by looking at current trends, we can at least have a clearer idea of what is possible. A big concern raised by both the review and the survey was whether educational psychology will stay relevant. The experts worried that if the field doesn't connect better with actual teaching practices, with policymakers, and with the development of educational technology, it might lose its footing. They pointed out that other fields like computer science or economics or even AI itself could start doing the work that educational psychologists currently do. The authors really emphasized that educational psychology needs to be humble and willing to change. They suggest that the field has sometimes been slow to adopt new ways of doing research, like focusing on how learning is a complex, dynamic process that changes over time, rather than a simple, straightforward path. They argue that if educational psychology doesn't keep up with the latest methods and technologies, other disciplines that are quicker to adapt will take the lead. They also touch on the idea that education and educational psychology are shaped by the world around us, including social, political, and economic factors. In times of global instability, like the kind we're seeing now with geopolitical tensions and environmental crises, the future of any field can seem uncertain. Some experts are optimistic that scientific research in education will continue to grow. However, there is also a worry about growing anti-science movements and political pressures that can make it harder for independent research to thrive. The researchers highlight that to navigate these challenges, it is crucial to focus on things like citizenship education, ethics, and science literacy. They also stress the importance of protecting learner data, which is becoming a big deal in our digital world. The paper concludes by asking the crucial question, what future do we want for educational psychology? And how can we make it happen? They really want to start a conversation about this. They believe that the present moment is critical for educational psychologists, teachers, and policymakers to decide together what kind of future they envision and how to get there. A key idea they put forward is the need for better science communication. They argue that if the public and policymakers don't understand or value educational psychology research, it is up to researchers to communicate their findings more effectively. This means not just doing good research, but also finding ways to explain it clearly and persuasively to everyone. So, what is my take on this? This study is a really important wake-up call. It shows that the future of educational psychology isn't just something that happens to us. It is something we actively create. The blend of looking at past predictions and asking current experts is a solid approach. The biggest strength is that it doesn't shy away from the potential downsides while still celebrating the amazing possibilities technology offers. The clear distinction between utopian and dystopian visions is very effective. A limitation, as the authors themselves point out, is that the expert sample was somewhat limited, mainly including researchers from a few countries. To get a truly global perspective, they need to involve more diverse voices. Also, while they use some AI analysis, the human interpretation of the nuanced expert responses is where the real gold is. So what for us is huge. We need to be critical consumers of educational technology and to support research that is evidence-based and ethically sound. We need to advocate for educational practices that foster critical thinking and well-being, not just standardized test scores. And for educators and researchers, it means embracing interdisciplinary collaboration and investing in clear, impactful science communication. What is next? I'd love to see follow-up studies that include more perspectives from teachers, students, and policymakers to see how their visions align or diverge from the experts. Also, exploring how educational psychology can actively combat misinformation and promote critical thinking in the face of AI advancements would be a vital next step. What do you think about the future of educational psychology? Are you more excited about the utopian visions or worried about the dystopian ones? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab for more science decoded, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the fascinating world of psychology. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.